Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's ICRT vlog. This episode is actually our 30th episode in total, and we'll continue to provide more entertainment and lifestyle news. So for our first story for this week, Michelin has published its 2019 guide for the top restaurants in Taipei. This is only the second time they've done this. Last year was the first, and there are a couple of new entrants onto the list. Let me give you the rundown. This year, 24 restaurants made it onto the list, and there were 5 new entrants. So for our 3-star category, which is the highest category in the Michelin rating system, we are still staying with Le Palais, which is a modern Cantonese restaurant, and it is in Le Palais de Chine in downtown Taipei. That is still the only 3-star restaurant in Taipei. But for our 2-star category, we've had some major changes. The two-star category restaurants from last year, they are still in 2-star category. That is Taiwan and Awr-eye. They both serve modern cuisine, but with like a traditional Taiwanese twist to it, and they're both very, very popular. Another interesting restaurant to note, a entirely new restaurant has jumped the 1-star category and has directly landed in the 2-star category. That restaurant is Sushi Amamoto. It serves classic Japanese sushi. It only has 12 seats. I've heard, I haven't been there, you have to wait like months to get a reservation, and apparently they import fresh fish from Kyushu in Japan, and then their sushi rice is cooked with spring water from Nagano, also in Japan. If you actually get the chance to try it out after waiting months for a reservation, you should do that. And then if you're interested in more everyday fare, we also have the Michelin's Bib Gourmand list. That list this year has 58 restaurants in total, or eateries. 24 of those come from night market, small-time eateries, or even stalls. For our second story for this week, it has to come after all of the delicious food, because after you hear the story, there's no way you would have an appetite for any type of food, even Michelin-starred restaurants. This story made international headlines. It was in the BBC, CNN, The Guardian, Washington Post, blah, blah, blah. A 29-year-old woman, she comes from Kaohsiung. She went tomb sweeping with her family. While she was clearing away the grass, there was a gust of wind, and she felt something go into her eye. She thought it was like, dust or some kind of like dirt. She rinsed out her eyes with water and left it at that. A couple hours later, she came down from the mountain from tomb sweeping, and it was seriously painful and swollen. She almost could not see out of her eyes. Fortunately, she went to a doctor. When the ophthalmologist looked at her eye under a microscope, he saw a wiggling insect leg. Blah, okay. Wow. Oh, good, Leslie. Now I'm gonna have to start again.
Good Lord.
This is why this had to come after the food. You see what I'm saying? He very carefully extracted the insect, tried to keep it whole and not to break off any body parts. Then he pulled out another one after that, another one after that, another one after that. So there were 4 of these insects in her eye. What is this thing aside from a creature from our nightmares? They say it is a haladicte, or a sweat bee. So it is a type of bee, usually 3 to 4 millimeters long. They do feed on nectar and pollen, but they are called sweat bees because they are attracted to the salt and the moisture in human perspiration. So when the doctor pulled the bees from her eyes, the doctor said that the bees were feeding off of her tears. He said they were probably a little bit, like squished in and uncomfortable, but they were definitely alive. Okay, so the bees are alive and well. They were sent off to a research lab for research purposes. The woman, her eye was infected. She had cellulitis. Oh, that's ironic. Doctors also say that it's very fortunate that she did not rub her eyes when they were uncomfortable. If she killed the insects and the body parts broke off near her eyeballs, they could have made the infection worse, and she could potentially have gone blind. But she is expected to make a full recovery. So that is the second story for today. Anyway, I'm going to turn things over to our other newscaster, Philip. But before I do, very quickly, make sure to remember to check out the ICRT 40th anniversary concert. It is coming up in July. We are going to get all the greatest hits from the past couple of decades. It's going to be a good time. Okay, Philip, take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so the story that I'm bringing you, I'm really excited about because I'm kind of a nerd. So last night, Taipei was one of 6 cities that unveiled the first ever real photo of a black hole. All the ones that you always see online, those are made by like computers and artists. This one is real. What is this photo? This was done by the Event Horizon Telescope project. Taiwan was part of that project through the Academia Sinica. That is why Taipei was one of the 6 cities in the world that was able to unveil it before everybody else. So this Event Horizon Telescope project is a collaboration of a bunch of countries and about 200 people. To explain why this photo is so important, you have to first understand what a black hole is. So a black hole is made when a really massive star dies. It runs out of fuel, and then all that matter collapses in, and there's just so much of it basically breaks physics. And everything collapses into a tiny, tiny point called a singularity, where they say physics completely breaks down. They don't know what's in there because when you cross that event horizon, which is the black part, no light comes out. You need light to do measurements. It's basically a hole, a black hole, yeah, where we cannot do any tests. So that's why we don't know what happens within that black area. So how does this work? You can think of space-time as kind of like a blanket, and it gets bent when there's an object in it. When a black hole is big enough, it gets bent so far down that anything that goes in does not come out. So if nothing comes out, including light, how do you take a photo of it? Basically, they say that it would take about 2 years pointing telescopes from all over the world at this thing, and they're measuring the radiation that's around the black hole. So what you're seeing really is more like a shadow. What's different about it is it's not just a shadow like, the sun is on my head and you can see my head on the ground. This is a shadow where you point light even directly at it. It's a shadow from the front. So again, why is this so important? The black hole basically was predicted by Einstein's theory of relativity. It's not necessarily a hole in the universe. It might actually be a hole in our understanding of that theory of relativity. So if we can understand more about black holes, then we can understand more about the universe around us, and who knows what else is going to come out of that hole. And one more thing, a little bit of housekeeping, I suppose. On Monday, we have a conference, and it's to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the signing of the Taiwan Relations Act, which actually happened yesterday on April 10th. In 1979. You can check out our social media if you want more information on that conference. Thank you for watching the ICRT blog. Bye!